Welcome to Cap Chat.
Welcome to the Rush Podcast Network. You are listening to Cap Chat Live, Cap Chat Live, Cap Chat Live from the United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia on Podcast Row. Here is your host, Josh Tyler.
That was Harrison's voice. He always starts every Cap Chat. Welcome to Cap Chat. I think he was 4 years old and recorded that. So, hey, we're here, Podcast Row, presented by Productive Recruit. So we're appreciative for them. We are sitting with the legendary to me, but Chris P., who is Virginia Rush, and here presenting. He was the grassroots director and is a wealth of knowledge for me, especially in the youth game. And actually here presenting on the status of youth soccer, really, the landscape of youth soccer, which I think we may open a can of worms with that today. But that's so. Anyway, thanks for always good to chat with you, and I know we talk a lot offline. So, but welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I want to dive right into you talk about youth game. So what's I know last night I think you said there's three pillars.
Three buckets. Yeah. So yeah, it's club development, player development, and coach education.
You gotta get a little closer to the mic there. You can have it. It's all on the side here. All right, so three buckets, sir.
Yeah.
What are the three buckets now?
Club development, player development, and coach education.
Okay. Now, all equally important, I'm assuming.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So what is the landscape of youth soccer right now?
So obviously you've got different leagues.
Yeah.
Right. So they're battling. You've got different coaching bodies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, yes club, yes youth, which of course operate and run leagues. And then you've got, clubs. You've got, you've got how everything fits into that, right? So you've got your markets where you're at. You've got your neighboring clubs. Are they in the same league? Are they in different leagues, and so on and so forth? So, what we'll talk about tomorrow in our presentation is not just how it contrasts, but where there is some collaboration and cooperative. So, we're looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, if I can develop my club and I can help the neighboring club around me develop, we've made the game better. So the whole aspect is looking at it. How can we align more things? How can we mend fences and build bridges to make sure that the kids who are the recipients of what we're doing have a better experience?
You make that sound so easy. I mean, that seems to be an uphill battle with that.
No,
but
yeah. So, it's as easy as you want to make it. But I think the more people can get in the same room and talk, I think the end goal becomes the same. Everybody wants to have a better environment for players, and how we go about that. Right? Everybody, people are going to club hop. It's just the way it is. But I think the more you can get your message out and the more clear and concise your message is, the simpler things become. So, for example, our neighbouring club has the ECNL National League, we're in the ECNL Regional League.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you selling leagues, or are you selling experiences? Are you selling? Are you providing environments that make players want to stay in the environment you're providing? So, you can't just say it. There's got to be things that you do to make sure that things are happening.
So as a club, I mean, you talk about that, what are things that they have to do? How are you trying to bridge these gaps? Because, I mean, there are so many, I think, egos is probably in the club game.
There's ego
probably true. Yeah.
Misuses of power and so on and so forth. I think it's, you're asking what can we do? I think sometimes we've got to put down our swords and you've got to look at what is the end goal, what is the things that we are trying to do. So some clubs might say, listen, our goal is to win a national championship and get 7 players into the professional ranks. Others might say, well, no, our goal is to have children involved and become lifelong engaged participants in the sports, whether that's through refereeing, whether that's through playing, whether it's through playing as adults, whether it's coaching, whether it's being a doctor within the sport, but just really trying to map out what it is you are and what it is you stand for. How do we make the core values a living, breathing thing as opposed to just something that we have on the wall or on paper? So just looking at ways that we can bring those things to life and give kids some character traits that they're going to do. Things carry them through life.
Because, I mean, it's easy to say because it ultimately is for the kids. You know, and I know you obviously personally that your heart is enormous, and I think you're an incredible component, for the youth game. And I think if everyone's heart was in the right place, that's all. That's the balance in that. But your heart's in the right place, and it's you right away when you meet you know, like you just like that guy. His heart's in the right place, and but I don't know if you can say the same for everyone.
You know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody's in the sport, soccer, or the youth game to mess up kids. I think their goal is to provide something. They just believe that how they provide it is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't, I think people's heart is in the right place, but sometimes what's delivered, the intent, can be a little bit different. But again, I don't think anybody's coming from a place of, no, I'm going to do this to mess up.
I would agree with that. I hopefully.
So, no, yeah, hopefully, right? But then it's getting to a stage where if we see that, and that's happening, as coaches, as people, do we call that out?
Yeah.
Because children have a right to be protected, and we need to ensure their rights. And you've heard me say this many times, Josh, but children get one childhood, and it really is our job as coaches to make that childhood as memorable as possible. So training sessions that kids attend should feel like Christmas or their birthday, right? They should be happy. There should be happiness. There should be joy. There should be fun, right? But there should also be learning. There should be hard work. There should be engagement. But we want to keep them coming back as often as possible, right? And because of the environment we've created or tried to create, then they'll keep coming back.
Well, I think people sometimes associate, well, if you have fun, it's one or the other. No, you can do both. I've just been watching the Man City series on YouTube and also the Arsenal on Amazon. But if you look, right, it's about people. And even the Arsenal players, professional players, there's fun, there's banter. Fun has to be present because it's proven that when somebody enjoys doing something, they're likely to carry on doing it. Right? So if there's a struggle, they still find that joy within, and keep going. So I think that's what we got to be cognizant of, to provide those environments. And I'm not just saying, playing tag, and that's it. But what I'm saying is you can play tag. There can be a competitive element in it, just like in the things that we expect from our coaching decisions and reading cues. It can be competitive, but it's fun. Yeah.
There's movement involved, which is critical skills of now kids are managing time and space, which is essentially every sport we deal with. Right?
Yeah.
How do I manage that time and space that we have?
So how has the game, how has the landscape of youth soccer changed? Let's just maybe even look at 5 years.
Listen, so just coming to this convention, right? Far more female coaches here,
Which is
this year
brilliant.
than 5 years ago.
Yes.
5 years ago. I think more people are getting educated. There's been a change in US, the federation with the grassroots licenses, the way those things are done, the way there's now coach educated developers. So now I'm not just sent as a coach educated developer to say, hey, go teach these courses. There's a support system per se. That's on the coaching ed side, right? From the club development standpoint, look at some of the stuff that our coaching ed department and Pablo have put together with the curriculums, the Rushway, the sessions and stuff like that. So there's resources. There's resources there. So that's another way it's changed. How's it changed for players? I think that's a question I think we need to maybe dig deeper on. How has it changed for players? I think you'd have to ask kids how you feel the game has changed for them, right? Voice, choice, journey. We've got to hear their voice.
Voice, choice, journey.
We've got to give them choice. And this is their journey. So essentially, we have to prepare kids for their World Cup, right? Not prepare the kids for the World Cup.
Yeah.
We have to prepare kids for their World Cup. And their World Cup can be something different, right? Harrison and Muscles could be playing in their World Cup as a U10, right? Or a U12, right? But that's their World Cup. So, everybody's on a different journey. It's our job to guide the journey as educators, as coaches, and make sure that that journey has a variety of stuff, whether it's a little bit of adversity, whether it's a lot of learning, a lot of joy, struggles, which is also important. But, we got to put the ball more in kids' courts. And I'm not just saying roll out the ball and let them play.
Right.
But give them voice, choice, journey. Right? It's their journey. We've got to hear their voice, and it's also their choice. Right? So, and there's going to be a movement coming out, which I've heard of, and I'm a little bit ahead of it, just in England, and there's some governing bodies that are going to start coming in, and it's kids first, basically, children first, and protecting the rights of children, upholding the rights of children to have voice, choice, journey, to participate without being berated, to participate on their own terms. So I Coach Kids.eu has done some work around that, and there's a pledge, so just there's going to be some exciting things, and I think we need to be at the cutting edge of things.
Now once there, I think it was in England somewhere that they did an entire weekend of no coaching, no noise. Am I dreaming that? Am I making that up? But it was like no, completely silent.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, and if it happened in England, Josh, I can tell you we've done silent sidelines a few times. We've also taken lollipop suckers, and if parents have been too vocal, we've given it to the parents. And it's amazing. Some kids like it because they can hear each other talk. Some kids don't like it because it's eerie, right?
Yeah.
It's an eerie silence, But I think if you do it a couple of times, they get used to it. There's a club in England called Salisbury Rovers, run by a lady called Debbie Sayers, and they are very big in the beliefs of free play and free movement and vertical integration, older kids playing with younger kids, etc. And they've just had 2 players signed to Premier League clubs. And there's another person out of here called Joy of the People, Ted Croatan, and he's based in Minnesota. And it's basically all Jogo Bonito free play. And he's just had his first kid come through that program signed for the MLS. So there's some merits to the free play stuff. And of course, I think what's really needed is a sampling of everything. You can't just go with one methodology. At some stage, I think the methodologies intersect and have commonalities, but there are differences in some of the things.
So when you say the club is free play, does that mean, are you saying their entire, there's not structured training? It's just, I'm going to come out and watch you play.
Yeah, Ted Croatan, Joy of the People, we had on the webinar a couple of times when I was running the webinars. He is completely free play. Free play is what they're doing.
I guess on the flip side of that, though, I guess that they keep playing, they learn the game themselves. So the coaches don't do any kind of coaching.
The coaches are facilitators there at Ted's place, and I think he'd be a great person to get on and get further information from. But there's play. When you look at PRJ's work and you look at some of the theories behind kids and growing up, play is huge, right? Think about your memories as a child, and think about when you were just lost and immersed in play, right? You forgot how hungry you were, right? You forgot you needed to go to the bathroom, right? You were just immersed in play. And I think sometimes, even as adults, we need to play more, right? I think we lose that playful element, joy, smiling, laughter, doing things we really enjoy. And if you look at kids at a very young age, kindergarten kids, for example, if you go into a kindergarten class, I know Emily, your wife, teaches, and you ask the kids who's creative, everybody's hand goes up. Now, fast forward, there are seniors in high school. If you ask a child, a senior in high school, how many of you are creative? Not many of their hands go up, right? So along the way, I think there's moments where we knock out the creativity of kids because of our structures and rigidity. Everything's rigid. And we take we are always constructing their environments that they're in. So sometimes, just next time you go past the park, don't stop for too long. But just look at the sheer joy, right? That's going through, and it's not led by adults. Now, I don't want people to mistake and say again, right? I reiterate, we're not just throwing the ball out and letting them play, because as a coach, we do have a role, right? And the environments that we construct are based on who's in front of us, what are their needs, not what do I need to teach them, right? And we still have a role. The coach still has a role, right? So there's a time for structure. There's a time for unstructured. What's needed is a smorgasbord, right? As opposed to just one approach, as opposed to another. But with the free play, game intelligence, that improves. If I'm, I think the quote is a good teacher will tell you where to look. A great teacher will help you what to see. And I may have that quote a little bit wrong, right? So it's our job to set up the environments, and it can't be like hey, what do you see? And it's like a Where's Waldo picture. You know what I mean? So we've got to become more skilled in helping them. How many coaches set up an activity, step back, observe the activity, observe the behaviors, and then step back one more time and are looking at the eyes to see where the player is scanning, right? So I don't know how many do that, right? A lot sometimes jump in, get them in, here's what we're doing. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not suggesting one's right or wrong.
For sure.
But what is needed is a blend and a balance of both.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think one of the things with the rush way is, the ball needs to be moving 75% of the time.
Yeah, 7% of the time.
And I've started with a stopwatch because it helps, because we overtalk. And this is what we do. I talk half my life, I've been sitting here, and that's really helped me because, I don't need to overtalk. And I hit my stopwatch and I make sure I hit it. I try to hit it almost every single training, and I let parents know in advance.
So you're timing the 70% rolling, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the ball moving, and how many times, and then what it has forced me to do is not stop play as much. Mm-hmm. Not that I stop.
So now you have to think about
correct
being intentional, right? So now you're becoming more intentional,
right?
Which is huge, right? So the other question I would ask is, when you are stopping or making an intervention, is it less than 90 seconds? Can it be less than 90 seconds? Can we find different tools in our coaching toolkit to whether coach over the top? Is it a natural stoppage? And I think some of the tendencies, Josh, that we have as coaches is we like to go, I think we like to go a mile wide and an inch deep. But I think what we really need to focus on doing is going an inch wide and a mile deep. Do you know what I mean? So there might be 72 things going wrong within that session.
Yeah.
You can't fix all 72. Pick two.
Yeah.
Pick two. So I just think we need to be more mindful and intentional. And that goes back to session planning.
Mm-hmm.
Again, tied to who's in front of us. What am I noticing? What are they doing? How's it? You know what I mean? So there's a myriad of things that lend into your environment. Right?
Yeah. No, I've taken a lot from you because now I'm coaching Harrison's team. I jokingly say I went from college to 2012 boys, but I've taken a lot from you. It's just the how do you run a session? How do you communicate with parents? Because it's something I've never had to do. I went to college game pretty quick, and not that I don't like parents, but so I'm becoming because I know I have to explain to the parents because I want them on board. Because I know we've talked about sideline behavior and. The question I was talking to someone yesterday on the podcast, and we always blame the parents, but we haven't taught the parents. And so this year, especially with Harrison's team, is I'm teaching the parents, which has been, I've had no issues with parents. Yeah. Not a single mad parent. We've laid our standards out, and I tell them, here's what we're working on this week, so they can cheer for that.
How do you do that, Josh? How do you do that? Do you do it via email? Do you do it in person? How do you do it?
So that one I do. Well, email or a group, group meeting. Yeah, and so I don't see them in person a lot. So I will send out a session, and I'll say this is what we're working on. So I'll send them an email and say, okay, this week, for example, we're gonna work on building from the back. And so this game Sunday, we're gonna build from the back, and we're probably gonna score. But when they do it successfully, let's cheer. We're really, can we, we call it the magic V. I think I learned that from Damien, maybe, but can we play back? And if we do that and switch the field, let's all cheer. Now they're going to play backwards and probably mess up and may roll their own goal.
Yeah.
So I send that via email. It is just to keep them over communicate.
So a little thing I heard, I've not implemented yet, but two things, right? So we do and we used it, actually, we've implemented this. We do a session bingo, right? So there's little 16 pointers that I give to my coaches, to our coaches who are training our winter program. And I ask them to, how many of these things can you hit off in the session bingo? All rolling 70% of the time. Have you greeted the kids on arrival, departure, high fives? Have you done a rush cheer at the end? So the little things, right? Did you positively affect somebody's environment? So what you're talking about, right, is if you had like a bingo punch card, like just like we're wearing here at the convention, and you had on there the amount of times we switch play, and you gave it to the parents and they had a clicker. So now you've got parents looking at that.
Oh,
and
interesting.
you can compare that. So now at the end of your game, Josh, right, you can go over, you can talk to the players, talk to the children. Behind them are the parents, and then you could have, whether it's every parent that has it, but now you've got a little bingo card. I noticed my kid doing something positive to help the opponent. Just little things that embody our values, right? Humility and so on and so forth. I just think it embodies these characteristics that kids will carry through life with them, Little thing that I like to do is we call it the sugar shaker, right? Who was your sugar shaker today? Who made the game sweeter for you? And why? So now kids are thinking about, that. So like just being here, Josh, right? You think about this and you think about the people we see and how many people see. Well, who made your convention a little sweeter for you because you had that interaction where you took that time and stuff like that? And it's all about, at the end of the day, I think it's about relationships. It's about how you maintain these relationships. It's about how do you clearly and concisely communicate your message.
Yeah. And the message is, and it's incredible how many people can't communicate, and don't know how. Maybe they don't want to. I don't know. So yeah, I like the bingo card.
I thought you would.
Yeah, I do like that. The one thing
it's not copyrighted, so you're okay.
We'll call it something else. We'll call it the rushing go. Yeah.
Ringo.
The Ringo. Yeah. One of the things I have taken from you, I've taken a lot from you, is making sure you ask your players, because I think you came to the state cup games. I can't remember, but like, how do you I've changed my warm ups, and then making sure I talk to every player, and ask about their days and stuff like that, because that, and that's actually changed. Not that I never cared about players, but now I want to know, and that thought process have changed. Like, I need to make sure I talk to every kid. It's a little easier with older players because there's built-in stretching time. Yeah. Younger kids don't stretch as much as they should, but that's changed the way I look at the players too.
Yeah, so I think there's an old Greek saying, and the Greek saying is "Dinalidian, Mathenis dinalidian bumitsin ubellon," and the translation is you learn the truth from a child or a crazy person. And the truth is a child doesn't know any different, so they're going to give it to you through their lens, and a crazy person's crazy, so they're going to give it to you anyway. Right? Yeah. So I think, when we interact with children, younger ages, you might hear some funny things, but, it's their lens, it's their world. And if we remember being their age, like I said, immersed in play, big-time teams, and I'm sure, like with Muscles' team, I'm sure they're like, what do you mean practice is over? So if we've created an environment,
for sure,
that they're sad to leave, but they're excited to come back, then we're doing that job.
I got to tell you, a proud dad moment for me is the boys are playing in an indoor league. And so they're actually playing tonight. Imla's coaching. Yeah. And then Jackson, for those who know Jackson, my oldest, is not a soccer player, but has an engineer mind. And so he's helping Imla coach. He wants to. Yeah. So, Harris and I play a lot. We explain the game quite a bit. And we were talking about, so I drew on the board for Jackson, like, here's how we play. And Harrison took over and was talking, like, if our outside back comes up, this player holds, and this is why you have to check in. Matthew plays box to box. And I was just awestruck. I was like, that is so, it was, because coaching the youth game for me sometimes can be is frustrating. because I don't have the patience always that I need. But it was such a proud moment as a coach and as a player to see Harrison explaining it, and he was maybe like he is listening to me, and that was neat, and he was drawing it out, and it was really cool.
No, and that's good though. But I think two things there, right? You've identified that Harrison knew what was going on, and you said he does listen to me. So kids listen with their eyes as well. So they watch us a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, they listen with their eyes. I saw your face go a little there. So if we're talking about respect, but we're yelling at the referee, how can I, So the other thing is you've identified for yourself there, Josh, something as a coach that you need to work on with the younger ages, right? I need to be more patient.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I think when you talk to most coaches who have children, we're probably least patient with our own children, right? So again, it's identifying those little gaps and then working out how do we close those gaps. You know what I mean? And voice, choice, journey, right?
I like
That's
that
what
one.
you got to remember.
Yeah.
Voice, choice, journey.
Yeah. Because kids, I mean, they're fascinating, and they see the world so differently, and so just full of joy. They see the world and they're happy, and it's it's tough, but the voice choice, I like that. So anyway, but that's so what else on the youth landscape? I'm going to say a bold prediction here. So now I can actually put it in I can record this. Here's my prediction with the youth landscape. I think that USYS is going to start their own club system.
They already have, right? E64 or MLS Next, it's all under USYS.
But I mean, they're actually like a Rush. They're going to be a club.
Okay.
And
so US Youth Soccer, you think, will have a club?
Yeah, and here's why I think is because they're doing a lot of the same things. They roll out their own university platform. They're doing their own mental health now. Things that we at Rush are doing as a club. And they have so many, they got their fingers in, which is good. There's a lot of those smaller clubs that are playing A64. Overnight, they could say, we're going to be a club. I don't know. I mean, United FC.
Yeah. And
they would probably have 100 clubs. That's my bold prediction on, I think within the next couple of years. I think I have no basis to it. Yeah. There's nothing that I've heard or seen, but I think that in the next couple of years, I think that's the direction they're going. I don't know. I don't know what you think of that.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah. You smirking like you know something? I don't know.
No, I'm smirking at the boys over there.
Oh, yeah. Bates over there for PA Rush. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'm going to play. We're going to play rapid fire. Okay. And then Hugh thinks he's funny. And
Get ready for rapid fire.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Nice. Number one YouTube. No one's gotten this right there. But what is the number one most watched video on YouTube in the world?
Couldn't tell you.
Baby shark. Yeah. Cake or pie?
Oof. Apple pie.
Ooh, okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Pistachio gelato.
Oh, awful. I love pistachios, but I don't like pistachio ice cream. Favorite candy?
Cadbury's chocolate.
That's second. The guy. That's an English thing. Yeah. Soccer or football?
Football.
If you had to choose one thing to have, would you choose indoor plumbing or electricity?
Electricity.
Everyone yesterday said plumbing. Today, everyone's electricity. So, cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite cereal?
Weetabix.
And
English thing.
Okay, Weetabix. Yeah. Who's going to win the English Premier League?
I think Arsenal could be with a shout this year.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
There you go. Rapid fire. But yeah, thanks for always. I always love chatting. I'll chat with you for hours, and I love what you do. I love your thought process, and I wish more people had your heart for the game because you do. It is contagious. The minute you meet, this guy just has the heart for it, and it's a passion, and so. Our lives always cross. Maybe one day we're gonna live in the same town.
You should probably tell how we met. In Chicago. We won't do that.
Crispy took care of me, and I was just talking about that. here's a funny story that. So Jesse, our Capelli, really guy, Capelli, when that release party, Jesse, as he was there for 2 weeks, one of the models that we had for the uniform release didn't show up. So he was there for 2 weeks. They made him, so he's in, if you go back, he said, you go back and look at, he's in the uniform release as a kid, because he's, anyway, I thought that's kind of funny. But yeah, that was my,
Football, small world, right?
It is. It is.
It connects us all in many, many ways.
Yeah, it is, and that's what these weekends are fun. So, well, Chris P, everyone. So again, we productive recruit today is presented by Chris P's in a class tomorrow, the grassroots and the landscape of youth soccer, and so again, we just we appreciate having you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
All right.